Quincy, stand-up comedian, born and bred in East London. Been doing stand-up now for about 20 years. Radio presenter, former DJ. I've always been interested in comedy. I think that when I was growing up, my dad used to listen to people like Dave Allen and a few others used to come on after Match of the Day, so it was pretty late. So I knew it was risque, and I've always been intrigued of how stand-up is very similar to preaching, and how one person can captivate an audience and keep them engaged for a period of time. I think growing up from Caribbean descendants, in an area of East London which is predominantly white, I use the word adventures, a lot of adventures and a lot of reality checks. And I think that having the two kind of cultures entwined in each other, so when I closed my door, that was my safe haven, but it was very much a Barbadian household. My influences of aunts and uncles coming over and me going over to family members' house, but very much in the house was very traditionally West Indian. And then going out on the road and streets and that with my friends and school friends, it was very much like East End, but old school East End. So the two cultures are blended, and I had the experience of being around old East End families, being in that kind of environment. So to talk about it is pretty easy. You don't realize how much talent is in East London, and because I traveling throughout my time doing stand up, you meet different people from different parts of the country. But there's a pool of talent here. I think East Londoners have always been very cheeky chappies. They've got that reputation. Cockneys have always had that reputation of being Jack the lads and a bit confident, you know what I mean, a bit cocky. Very much working class, just with a bit of a, I mean, any other working class city, but I think that the East London scene is East Londoners going through what they've experienced. They would look at humour as a form of a coping mechanism. East London can give me, it will always give me a foundation, but you need to come out of the era to experience and to be accepted as an all round, well balanced and well versed comedian. My first ever gig was actually in Camden. It was the best feeling I've had apart from birth of my children, and my first boxing match. It was on par with that. It was just the fact of the support and the love I got. It was just second to none. Worked for me because I was different to the other acts. My style was different. It was very much true to me for East End. I didn't need to add in the West Indian element to me. I still find myself. So yeah, it was an amazing experience. It was more reggae artists, the late DJs, reggae DJs, who really inspired me. But like I said, there were the odd comedians who just for jokes, gags. Bob Monkhouse was one that I really used to like. I used to listen to and appreciate what he did. Um, got Frankie Howard, um, as well, and then early Lenny Henry back in the day, when he was doing stuff which was very relatable to me, was a big influence. Um, and obviously later on in my years, the American comedians. Growing up, to where you're at now, to where the current climate is now, it's changed. So you have to move with the times or adapt to the times more. If you are if you're around real East End people, you are very much they can, regardless of where you're from, they should be able to relate to you and understand where you come from. So if I mentioned growing up of a certain demographic of audience, if I said back in the day I used to play football, but it was blacks versus whites, they'd understand. You know what I mean? Because that was the environment I grew up in. I like to talk about social issues, but I like to talk about me being a father a lot and my experience as being a father. I think that is not spoken about enough, the experiences of black men raising children. So I tend to draw a lot on that, and I always try to promote positivity, especially when it comes to raising children from a black male perspective, because I grew up with uncles and strong positive black men. So I'll always deliver my message from that point of view. Favorite memory was getting my first standing ovation, having people coming up to me saying that what you said resonated with me. It was political, but it was funny and it was honest. And one guy, when I spoke about the passing of my late partner, coming up to me and said to me that he so resonated with what I said, he's going to mend his relationship with his sons. My favorite part of being a comedian is the happiness and the smiles on people's faces, where that I've made them forget all of their troubles for the period of time I'm on stage, and they tune into me. That's my favorite part of being a comedian. What was it like? We didn't really see each other that much. You know, what I mean, it wasn't like a book club kind of thing. It was, oh, you're from so and so, okay. So it wasn't really a big thing, so to speak. It was nice when you had the clubs in East End, and it's very rarely, unless it was like a theme night, it was very rarely that you'd be the only guy from the East End, wasn't it? I branched out because, like I said, I wanted to be a king, not just in my own castle. I wanted to be a king and be respected, because I know that my experiences, there's going to be people who are going to have similar experiences, regardless of where they're from. But you're just hearing it from a Cockney, a black Cockney. Donna Spence, I think that what made it easier when we bounced off each other, because she's a very much similar personality to myself, and it was very much it was like we had a connection, and it was a healthy connection, and the audience fed off that connection. I would like to pass on, be true to yourself. Most importantly, be honest as a comedian. Don't thieve material, and have faith in you. Memories. Kevin Hart, early Kevin Hart coming to my show in Stratford. Early days. He was brought over by a promoter way back in 2006, and blessed the stage, which I was really touched by. Obviously, he's Tiffany Haddish got to host a show, and I got a call from Jeannie Asheray, who basically said, "Could you give my girl a chance on the stage? Give her 5. She's coming over to the country." I was like, "Yeah, sure." And booking the comedians who I watched back in the day, and then doing my club. That was a massive, massive highlight. When the likes of Jeannie Asheray come and do my club, and the people I watched on TV, the Curtis Walkers, and I think one of them as well is having my good friend, didn't do no jokes, but he came back for my solo show to help me because we've got that kind of relationship, banter back and forth with Giselba.